On June 11, 2025, the United States Army canceled a combat vehicle it had already designed, built, named, tested, and handed to soldiers. The M10 Booker was the first entirely new combat vehicle the Army had brought into service in roughly 4 decades. Around 80 of them had been accepted. More than $1 billion had been spent building them. Not one will ever equip the formations it was made for. The notice sent to General Dynamics Land Systems was a termination for convenience, the contracting language that ends a program the government has simply stopped wanting. And Army Secretary Daniel Driscoll did not hide behind procurement euphemism. He said the Army got the Booker wrong. That kind of admission is rare. What it leaves behind is rarer still. American infantry brigade combat teams have no protected direct fire gun, and they have not had one since 1996. The Booker was supposed to end that drought. It was finished, and it was killed anyway. So the question that governs everything that follows is this. If the Army was willing to throw away a completed tank, rather than field it, what does it now believe will destroy the bunkers, the fortifications, and the light armor that tank was built to kill? The hole the Booker was meant to fill is older than most of the soldiers who would have crewed it. The M551 Sheridan left service in 1996. It was aluminum-hulled, it could be dropped by parachute, and it carried a gun that could also launch a guided missile. For airborne and light infantry formations, it was the only armored vehicle that arrived when they arrived. When it went, nothing took its place. The M8 armored gun system was type classified in 1995 and cancelled within roughly 2 years on budget grounds. The wheeled Striker mobile gun system carried a 105mm cannon into the 2000s, was bought in small numbers, and was retired by the end of 2022. Its flat-bottomed hull never brought up to modern mine and roadside bomb standards, and its autoloader expensive to sustain. 3 attempts across 3 decades, 3 failures. What an infantry brigade combat team actually carries into a fight today is the Javelin missile, a TOW launcher bolted to a light truck, and mortars. Each of those is lethal. None of them is protected. A javelin gunner has to expose himself to shoot. He carries very few rounds, and each round costs many times what a tank shell costs. Against a reinforced building, a bunker line, or a dug-in machine gun position, light infantry are asked to solve with missiles and indirect fire a problem armies have solved with direct fire guns since the First World War. The Mobile Protected Firepower requirement emerged from the Army's combat vehicle modernization work around 2015 for exactly that reason. Light formations needed a gun that moved with them and could take a hit, not a main battle tank. Something smaller, something that could get to a fight fast, something that could sit inside a light brigade without dragging an armored division's logistics behind it. The requirement was correct. What the Army built to satisfy it was not. The prototype competition began in December 2018. General Dynamics Land Systems and BAE Systems each received contracts to build 12 prototypes worth roughly $335 million and roughly $376 million, respectively. A third bidder, SAIC, working with partners from Singapore and Belgium, was eliminated. In June 2022, General Dynamics won a low-rate initial production contract with a ceiling of about $1.14 billion for up to 96 vehicles. The full program of record was 504 vehicles, 14 per infantry brigade combat team. The machine itself was serious. The main armament was the M35, a 105mm rifled cannon originally developed at Watervliet Arsenal as a low-recoil weapon, around 1,800 pounds lighter than the gun carried by the Abrams. That weight saving is the whole reason the vehicle existed. A lighter gun meant a lighter turret, and a lighter turret meant a vehicle that could theoretically go where a 70-ton main battle tank cannot. The fire control and turret architecture came straight from the latest Abrams. That means a Booker crew could see, track, and hit at Abrams standard, with a commander's independent thermal sight allowing the commander to hunt for the next target while the gunner kills the current one. There was no autoloader, which is why the crew numbered 4 rather than 3. That was a deliberate choice. A human loader adds a 4th set of hands for maintenance, security, and the endless physical labor of keeping a tracked vehicle running in the field. Power came from an 800 horsepower diesel driving an automatic cross-drive transmission with hydropneumatic suspension and 6 road wheels aside. Road speed reached about 40 miles per hour, and range ran to something in the region of 250 to 350 miles. That means a Booker could keep pace with a brigade's wheeled vehicles on a road march, instead of forcing the brigade to slow down for it. Protection was modular. Add-on armor could be fitted or stripped depending on the threat and the airlift available. The hull carried underbelly protection against buried charges. Ammunition sat behind blowout panels so that a penetration killed the vehicle rather than the crew, and 16 smoke dischargers ringed the turret. There was provision to fit an active protection system to defeat incoming anti-tank rockets. That provision matters more than it sounds, and in a moment it will explain why the whole program died. The vehicle was not designed from a blank sheet. It grew from the Griffin II demonstrator, which married an Abrams-derived turret to a tracked chassis of the same family as the British Ajax. Adapted, not invented. That was supposed to be the point. Proven parts, faster fielding, lower risk. And there is the name, which is unlike any other in the American inventory, because the M10 honors two men. Before the comparison, if this kind of detailed defense analysis is what you came for, subscribe to British Warforce and turn on notifications. It genuinely decides whether the next investigation reaches you. Staff Sergeant Stephen Booker was killed on April 5, 2003, during the armored thrust into Baghdad. When his machine guns failed, he climbed onto the turret roof of his M1 and fought with his personal weapon along a route of roughly 5 miles, destroying an enemy vehicle and shielding his platoon's flank before he was mortally wounded. His Silver Star was later upgraded to the Distinguished Service Cross, presented to his mother 16 years to the day after his death. Private Robert Booker was killed near Fondouk in Tunisia on April 9, 1943. Under machine gun and mortar fire, he carried a light machine gun and an ammunition box across more than 200 yards of open ground, set the weapon up, silenced an enemy gun, and, dying, kept directing his squad's fire. He received the Medal of Honor. At the dedication ceremony in April 2024, the two families met for the first time and christened the first production vehicle Another Episode, the name Stephen Booker had painted on his tank in Iraq. 14 months later, the Army terminated the program. To understand the decision, start with the contest the Booker won, then look at the contest it lost. BAE Systems offered a modernized descendant of the M8 armored gun system, the vehicle that had already been type classified back in the 90s. It was genuinely light and genuinely airborne compatible, and its lineage was proven. It was reportedly disqualified during the evaluation in early 2022, and the field collapsed to a single bidder. The Singapore and Belgian partnered offer from SAIC had been eliminated years earlier at the prototype stage. General Dynamics won a competition that, by the end, was barely a competition at all. That matters because a sole surviving bidder faces very little pressure to hold a line on weight. Now, the contest the Booker lost, which it never formally entered, China's Type 15 weighs roughly 33 tons, carries a 105mm gun with an autoloader, and a 3-man crew, and has been deployed along the high Himalayan frontier since 2020, precisely because heavy tanks lose engine performance at altitude. India's Zorawar answers it at around 25 tons with a Belgian 105mm turret, unveiled in July 2024 and now working through trials toward a planned buy of more than 350 vehicles. Japan fields the Type 16, a wheeled 26-ton gun vehicle built for rapid island reinforcement. Italy fields the Centauro II. Turkey exports the Kaplan MT. Every one of those platforms is lighter than the M10 Booker. The Booker came in at roughly 42 short tons in combat configuration, and that number is the whole story. Armor grew, sensors grew. The provision for an active protection system grew. Each addition was individually defensible and collectively fatal. Secretary Driscoll's description of the result was blunt. He said the Army as a customer helped create a Frankenstein, and that the vehicle was intended to be light and ended up medium. One correction is owed here, because it is repeated constantly, and it is wrong. The Booker was not canceled for failing an airdrop. The Army Requirements Oversight Council had already ruled back in 2015 that the vehicle would neither be required to fit inside a C-130 nor be dropped by parachute. What died was not a written requirement. What died was the concept the program had been sold on. At 42 tons, a C-17 could carry exactly one, the same as an Abrams, which meant the strategic lift bill for a Booker battalion looked uncomfortably like the bill for a tank battalion. Then came the bridges. As the Army prepared to field the vehicle to a light division at Fort Campbell, planners worked out that 8 of the 11 bridges on the installation would not carry it. Not bridges in a war zone, bridges on the post where the crews would have trained. The Army's Chief Technology Officer, Alex Miller, framed the failure not as corruption or contractor malpractice, but as process inertia, a requirement system that could not get out of its own way. Add a heavy maintenance tail and a sustainment contract so restrictive that senators publicly attacked it, with Driscoll complaining that the Army could print a replacement part for a handful of dollars, but had signed away the legal right to do so. So the elimination logic runs like this. The rival that could have stayed light was disqualified. The winner was allowed to grow until it lost the only advantage that justified buying it. And by 2025, the money it consumed was wanted somewhere else entirely. Because the real winner of this comparison was never a vehicle, it was the drone. On April 30, 2025, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth signed a memorandum on Army transformation and acquisition reform. The next day, the Army published its own implementation letter, and Driscoll announced the Booker would go. The formal contract termination followed on June 11th. The same initiative ended Humvee and Joint Light Tactical Vehicle procurement, ended the Gray Eagle line, and ended production of the older Apache variant. In its place, the Army committed to unmanned systems in every division by the end of 2026, counter-drone capability inside platoons by that same year, and inside companies by 2027, and heavy investment in long-range precision fires. This was not theoretical. Under the Transforming in Contact initiative, light brigades from the 101st Airborne and the 10th Mountain had already reorganized around small drones, loitering munitions, and mortars, fielding new companies built around sensors and one-way attack munitions rather than armor. The Switchblade 600 loitering munition carries the same warhead family as the Javelin and can be flown into a bunker aperture from kilometers away. A drone operator does not need 42 tons of steel to survive the engagement because he is not in the engagement. The Army's judgment, shaped hard by what drones have done to armored vehicles in Ukraine, is that a slow, visible, expensive gun platform is a target before it is a solution. Where that leaves the fleet is unresolved. Delivered Bookers from Fort Carson, Fort Bragg, and Fort Polk have been moving to Anniston Army Depot in Alabama, the site that assembled them, for storage while termination negotiations grind on. One sits on static display at Fort Benning. Everything else is proposal, not decision. 2 Marine officers from a light armored reconnaissance battalion argued publicly in June 2025 that the Corps should take them, having divested its own tanks and lost exactly this capability. The Army confirmed the 2 services had never actually discussed it. Transfer to the National Guard, sale abroad, use as range targets, all have been floated. None has been approved. As of now, no final settlement figure with General Dynamics has been made public, and the company has recorded the cancellation only as a revenue headwind in its filings, not as an itemized charge. The industrial consequences were softer than they might have been. Booker turrets came out of the Lima plant in Ohio, the only tank plant left in the United States, and hulls came from Saginaw in Michigan. But that same workforce is sustained by Abrams work, so the line did not go dark when the program did. Appropriators reacted with what one trade report described as cautious optimism, asking for far more detail on what the transformation initiative would actually deliver, and observers noted the obvious problem underneath the applause. Canceling the vehicle does not cancel the requirement. The Army still needs mobile protected firepower. It has simply stopped trying to buy it as a vehicle. The XN30 offers no relief here, and it is important to be precise about why. It replaces the Bradley inside armored brigade combat teams. General Dynamics and American Rheinmetall are building competing prototypes for delivery and testing across 2026 and 2027, with a single winner expected around 2027 and fielding in the early 2030s. It is a 50mm cannon-armed infantry fighting vehicle for heavy formations. It does nothing for the light brigade that needs a gun to break a bunker. That is the honest position. The Army has not replaced the Booker. It has decided the mission can be done another way. Not everyone accepts that. The defense analyst Nicholas Drummond argued that canceling was itself the mistake, conceding the vehicle may have been too heavy for airborne units, while insisting it would have been genuinely useful to ordinary light infantry. The counter-argument inside the Army is the sunk cost argument Driscoll made repeatedly to Congress, that continuing to buy an inadequate machine because $1 billion had already gone into it would compound the error rather than correct it. Both positions can be true. A wrong vehicle can be correctly canceled, and the underlying need can remain completely unmet. What was decided on June 11, 2025 was that the United States Army would rather carry an admitted capability gap than field a vehicle that no longer matched the war it expects to fight. That is a genuine doctrinal statement, and it separates the American Army from almost every other serious land force on Earth. China, India, Japan, Italy, and Turkey are all buying or fielding light direct-fire armor right now, and they are buying it lighter than the Booker ever managed. Washington has bet instead that cheap, expendable, precise, unmanned systems will do the killing that a gun used to do, and that survivability now comes from not being present rather than from armor thickness. If that bet is right, the M10 Booker will be remembered as the last light tank the United States ever tried to build. If it is wrong, the answer will arrive the way it always has, delivered to an infantry battalion pinned in front of a bunker line with nothing heavier than a missile launcher and a radio, and the Army will have to start the search all over again.